it's not going to be an easy agenda to implement. So at the moment the focus has been here on the Fylde Peninsula and down here. The groups in Somerset and South Wales are really starting to take off. Last Friday I was at the premiere of a film. The film is called The Truth Behind the Dash for Gas. The subtitle of the film is Frack Off Out of Somerset, I think, because it was sponsored by Frack Free Somerset. But the film, apart from about 10 minutes focusing, or even less, focusing on Somerset, the film is generic, and in my opinion it's probably the best documentary that I've seen to date produced for UK audiences. And it runs for 60 minutes, and hopefully that's going to be available on general release very shortly. So the challenge that we have now is really to raise this awareness right across the country as quickly as we possibly can. Meanwhile, the political agenda is not going to roll over. Don't think for 1 minute that just because Quadrilla have withdrawn their planning application for the extension, that it's all over. I think it was last week or maybe the week before, but Balcombe Parish Council have actually sort of put their hand up and said, you know what, we really messed up. We really messed up. We didn't appreciate the significance of what was being presented to us. We didn't have the expertise to look at this. And of course what's transpired is that they actually wouldn't have looked at it at all if it wasn't for Simon Greenwood, the landowner at Balcombe, who sits on the parish council, and he'd actually said, oh, by the way guys, there's a letter in your box you might actually want to take a look at. It's about an application that I've got in for drilling on my own. And they simply rubber stamped it. But this isn't necessarily good news, because I think it's this kind of incident that central government is going to use to say, see, these kind of decisions shouldn't be left with the local communities. The local councils just don't have the expertise to deal with it, so we need to deal with these applications at central government level. So we've got to be absolutely on the alert for changes in the planning process. I made this observation much earlier in the year because when the Growth and Infrastructure Bill was rushed through Parliament in a record 55 days, no bill has ever been pushed through Parliament so quickly. And the reason it got through so quickly is because the division meet was told that the only purpose of this bill was to remove red tape from entrepreneurs and small businesses, so that we could kickstart the economy by encouraging entrepreneurs to get their businesses off the ground. Unfortunately, what was also in the bill was a clause that gives central government the opportunity to overrule all local or regional and local elected representatives in the event that something is considered to be absolutely central to national security, national energy security, or the well-being of the economy. So you can see, and by the way, clause 8 of this bill, I mean the wording is classic sort of civil service legalese, but the clause 8 actually gives Westminster the opportunity to overrule the Scottish Assembly, the Welsh Assembly and the Northern Irish Assembly. So they're thinking ahead of the game. And don't think this is random, because we see exactly the same type of legislation with slightly different names being put through the parliaments in New Zealand, in Australia and in Canada. You know, we only see what's printed in the UK media, but here, believe me, there is a coordinated agenda occurring here. What I'm going to show you later on this afternoon is that we have never ever needed hydrocarbons in anything like the quantity that we're sucking them out of the earth right now. 90 million barrels a day are being sucked out of the planet. The industry, the hydrocarbon industry, is inextricably interlinked with the global economy. It is a hydrocarbon economy. Oil is not called black gold for nothing. Oil is gold. A barrel of oil for 70 years has traded at, give or take, slight movement either side, but 7.66% of an ounce of gold. So it's very easy to calculate what oil is going to do, because if you know what gold is going to do, if you have the opportunity to speculate on where gold is moving, oil is going to go the same way. And the reason is very, very simple. After Kissinger and Baker instructed OPEC to lift the price of oil by 400%, but in return they had to take payment in petrodollars. Once the OPEC countries had got their petrodollars, of course, they wanted to spend them straight away, so what did they spend them on? Arms. Arms manufactured by the US, because when you want to start a war, you've got to make sure that everybody's got all the appropriate toys. And that's exactly what has been occurring for the last 40 years. So by getting the petrodollars, they spend them on the US arms. I mean, that's why if you go to Saudi Arabia or you go to Kuwait or the UAE, all the cars on the road are American. I mean, everything is basically, it's like mini America. But anything they got left, they would immediately buy gold. Because it's the gold that holds the purchasing power. The petrodollar doesn't. I mean, that's why, on the broader basis, for the last 6 years, I've been encouraging people, if you've got anything in the banks, get it out, and actually fast. Because, as you probably, I'm sure you're all aware, but just 6 weeks ago, the legislation in the EU was introduced so that any future bank failure, they won't be bailed out, it's a bail-in. Which means that the funds within the accounts will be sequestrated for the recovery of the bank.